Once upon a time in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a boy. This boy was an orphan, and he lived on the streets. He used to beg for food and money. Sometimes people would give him some coins and say, "Here, go buy yourself something you need." But most of the time, the boy would just go out and find a nice stone and keep it in his pocket. One day a king's advisor saw this boy picking up a stone and asked him why he was doing that. The advisor thought that maybe the boy needed the stone to build a house or something. So he asked him, "What are you going to do with that stone?" The boy replied, "I don't know. I just like collecting stones." The advisor couldn't understand why someone would want to collect stones, but he was a kind man, so he gave the boy some money and let him go. But later, when the king heard about this, he summoned both the boy and the advisor and asked him the same question. "Why did you give that stone to the boy? How could you be so careless?" The advisor was very scared because he was a very obedient servant and he didn't want to disobey the king. So he explained to the king that the boy was a beggar, and he saw the boy taking the stone and asked him what he was going to do with it. And the boy said he just liked to collect stones. Then the advisor told the king that he gave the boy some money and let him go. The king got very angry when he heard this and shouted at the advisor, "How can you be so stupid? Do you know how valuable that stone was? It was a precious jewel, a magical stone that could make our kingdom richer and more powerful. If the boy had brought it to me, I would have given him half of my kingdom for it." Then the king turned to the boy and asked him, "Why didn't you bring the stone to me? Would you have taken half of my kingdom for it?" The boy looked at the king and replied, "I didn't know that the stone was so valuable. I only saw it as a pretty rock that I could keep in my collection." The king was very disappointed to hear this, but he still offered the boy a deal. "Tell me, what do you want? Money? Food? Clothes? A house? Or anything else?" The boy thought for a moment. He had never had anything that belonged to him before, so he wasn't sure what to ask for. Finally, he said, "I want to see the stone." The king was surprised by the boy's answer, but he agreed to show him the stone. When the boy saw the stone, he was amazed by its beauty. It was a huge oval-shaped stone that sparkled with all the colors of the rainbow. The boy couldn't believe that such a beautiful stone existed in the world. He asked the king if he could touch it, and the king allowed him to. The moment the boy's fingers touched the stone, it started to glow brightly. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the room, and when it stopped, the stone was gone. The boy looked around to see where it had disappeared to, but it was nowhere to be found. Then the king shouted at the boy, "You stupid! You destroyed the one chance you had to get everything you ever wanted. Now I'm going to throw you in jail." But before the guards could take the boy away, the stone started to glow again. This time it appeared in the hands of an old woman who was standing in the doorway. The old woman was the village sorceress, and she said, "Don't be angry, O king. The stone chose the boy. He is its new owner." The king was furious, but he couldn't do anything against the sorceress. She was the most powerful woman in the kingdom, and even he had to respect her. The sorceress then turned to the boy and said, "You have a kind heart, young one. The stone will do wonderful things for you." And with that, she vanished along with the stone. The boy was very confused, but he couldn't do anything except wonder what was going to happen next. Many years passed, and the boy grew into a strong and smart young man. He used the stone to help the poor and needy, and it became known throughout the land as the most generous young man in the kingdom. And that's why, my little friends, no matter how ordinary you might seem, you must always remember that your life has value.